In nautical terms, almost every rope used on a sailboat is called a line. Lines are usually made of Dacron, nylon, or polypropylene, depending on what they're used for. Dacron lines are used for the running rigging because it's low stretch. Lines used to control the sails have to be low stretch to prevent sagging and loss of sail shape. Dock lines and anchor lines are made of nylon because it does stretch. These lines act like shock absorbers and prevent the deck hardware from being ripped off when a large wave tries to yank the boat away from the dock or the anchor. Polypropylene is reserved for moorings, towing dinghies, and other uses where its ability to float comes in handy. A floating line is less likely to get caught in a propeller and is easy to retrieve from the water. Regardless of the material, lines have to be fastened, and to do that, we use knots. In fact, sailing has produced some knots that would scare a Boy Scout, but you only need to know a couple easy ones to get started. If you have 2 pieces of line and a cleat, you can try these knots along with us. The half hitch is one of the easiest knots to tie. 2 half hitches can be used to tie to a fixed object if there isn't a strain on the line. To tie 2 half hitches, loop the line around the object and cross the ends. Wrap the short end around the long end and bring it up through the loop. Repeat the process for the other hitch. How about an instant replay? Loop around the object, cross the ends, short end through the loop, and repeat. Half hitches are easy to tie, but they can slip and be hard to untie if the line is strained. It should be obvious where this knot, the figure 8 knot, gets its name. The figure 8 is used at the end of a line as a stopper to prevent the line from running through a block, fair lead, or grommet. Tying a figure 8 is easy. Start to make a loop by crossing the short end over the long end. Next, take the short end and continue around behind the long end. Finally, bring the end up and back down through the loop. And the instant replay? Make a loop by crossing over, continue around, and back down the loop, and pull to tighten. Sailors often use a clove hitch to tie a line to a piling. This knot can slip and should be replaced with a more permanent knot if the line has to stay tied for any length of time. Begin by wrapping the line around once and cross it over the main part of the line. Wrap it around again, bringing the short end up on the opposite side of the long end. Tuck the short end under the turn that crosses over and pull it tight. And again, around once, across, around again, and tuck the end. Although it may not look like a knot to you, the cleat hitch is one of the most common boating knots. It's used to tie lines to a cleat so they'll hold, but still be easy to untie. Begin by wrapping the line around the cleat once. Next, cross diagonally and run the line under the end of the cleat. Cross again and under the opposite end, but this time leave it a little loose. Finish by tucking the end of the line under the last diagonal cross and pulling tight. The instant replay, please. Around once, across once, across twice, and tuck the end. One of the most common sailing knots, the bowline, is used to make a loop that won't slip at the end of a line. It's also very easy to untie even after being strained. To tie a bowline, make a loop at least a foot from the end of the line by crossing the short end over the long end. Next, bring the end through the loop from underneath. Run it behind the long end, up and back down through the same loop. Pull it tight, and you have a bowline. The instant replay? Make a loop by crossing over, end up through the loop, around the long end, and back down the loop, and pull to tighten. There are other ways to tie a bowline that work just as well. Learn at least one method. This is one of the most useful knots on a sailboat. Most dinghies have a line at the bow used for towing, among other things. We call this line a painter. It takes a special knot called a rolling hitch to tie the painter to a separate tow line so it doesn't slip. To tie a rolling hitch, wrap the painter around the tow line twice, wrapping away from the towing boat. After the second wrap, cross the short end over the two turns and put another wrap around the tow line between the painter and the towing boat. Tuck the end under the crossing wrap and pull tight. A rolling hitch slides easily by the knot, but locks when the line is tensioned. Instant replay. Around twice. Cross over. Around again. And tuck the end. There are many more knots you can learn, but these are some of the most useful. They're not difficult, and with a little practice, they'll become second nature to you. If you're having problems, rewind the tape and tie the knots along with us.